This is the bomber that emerges from the glass case that its aircrew refers to as the Bone, and which reads, "Break in case of war." The B-1 Lancer is a legendary aircraft that can perform tasks that no other bomber in the US inventory can, such as delivering 75,000 PBS of explosive democracy anywhere in the world the following day. This was demonstrated in one of the most devastating US strikes to date, which took place in late January 2024, while several hundred US Army and Air Force personnel were going about their daily business at Tower 22, a remote military base in northeastern Jordan close to the Syrian border. Tower 22 serves as the main logistics hub supporting US efforts to train foreign fighters in the Autan deconfliction zone. On that fateful day, US troops were waiting for the return of a drone on a routine surveillance flight, but they were unaware that Iranian-sponsored militias had something planned for them. The Iraqi Popular Mobilization Force militia group had launched an armed drone from somewhere in Syria as it headed towards the remote base. It just so happened to coincide with the return of the surveillance drone with their guard. The Americans didn't realize it until it was too late, and the drone exploded in a barracks area on the base, killing 3 and wounding dozens of others in the aftermath of this attack. American commanders quickly confirmed an Iranian-trained militia had been responsible for the attack. In order to teach them a lesson, the US decided to send 2 B-1 bombers as part of the strike package to remind the Iraqis, who were actually in charge of the area. However, these militia groups were well prepared with deep underground bunkers reinforced with tons of concrete. But if those terrorists thought they were safe, they had another thing coming, as the 2 B-1 Lancers prepared to take off from their airbase in Texas. There was a flurry of activity below the aircraft as ground crew were scrambling to build all the bombs that the bomber known as the Bone to its crew would unleash on its targets in the Middle East. While one might think the B-1 Lancer got its cool nickname because it leaves nothing but a pile of bones in its wake, you would be sorely mistaken, though certainly fitting the Bone is simply a shorthand version of B-1 that Air Force personnel adopted, and the name has stuck ever since. But don't let this aircraft's lack of a cool origin story fool you, since it is certainly deadly. When looking underneath the aircraft, one will see that the plane has 3 main bomb bays. These bays, simply called the forward, intermediate and aft bomb bays, can hold a max combined weight of 75,000 lb of bombs. But how can personnel cram up to 84 500 lb bombs in an aircraft only 137 ft long and 34 ft tall? The key to this is called the SEC-CBM, which stands for SMAR-equipped conventional bomb module inside each bay. The ground crew will configure a module to fit inside each bomb bay, while the Bone can have the same module in each bay to carry the same bomb type for the whole payload. This isn't typical. For example, when at max bomb carrying capacity, each Bone can hold 84 Mk, 82 unguided 500 lb bombs. However, while these would be good for carpet bombing, a wide area for the kind of precision strike commanders needed for the scenario, the Bone would need something a little more accurate for this mission. It was likely the crew filled the forward bay with 28 Mk-82 bombs that have guidance kits installed to turn them into smart munitions. These bombs would be the perfect one-size-fits-all bombs for taking out above-ground structures and bunkers, but the Bone would probably be carrying something for the terrorists trying to flee too. To this end, the immediate bay could hold 10 CBU-103s. These munitions are known as wind-directed cluster munitions, which disperse 202 submunitions designed to take out armored vehicles and personnel over a wide area, lastly to strike the targets at long range before terrorists could bring any anti-air systems to bear or flee the third bay. Likely had the AGM-158 JASM, depending on the variant used, the Bone could strike targets up to 1,000 TTM away, which could destroy these terrorist strongholds long before they even knew they were there. As you can see, a wide range of options are available to commanders putting together a strike package for B-1 bombing run, and these weapon types only scratch the surface of what the B-1 can carry. In addition, the Bone can deploy naval mines, several other types of long-range missiles, and numerous six-packs of GBU-39 bombs with a small diameter that can add up to 144 bombs in total. There are 6 external hardpoints that ground the aircraft, and this is just what the bomber can carry inside. The Bone may fall. While the B-1 is piloted by a traditional pilot and co-pilot who sit next to each other, there are 2 additional personnel in the rear of the aircraft. Walking along a small corridor to the rear of the aircraft are a series of instrument panels. It is here that the two weapons officers sit and actually deliver the payload, with one person in charge of the offensive weapons mentioned previously, and the other in charge of the plane's self-defense systems. Crews can attach even more weapons, or fuel tanks for longer missions, but as the pair of bones take off to destroy their targets in Syria and Iraq, there are some people helping the pilots in the rear of the aircraft. With so much firepower at their disposal, the bone is prepared for any scenario. The B-1 has the largest carrying capacity of any bomber currently in service, which enables commanders to use the bone to swiftly attack a large number of targets. However, the B-1 will require more bombs than many to succeed on this mission because the terrorists these bombers are targeting are among the most well-prepared and armed in the entire region thanks to Russian and Iranian weapons and training. Don't worry, though, because the bone has some never-before-seen engineering that makes it essentially a heavy bomber, disguising itself as a fighter jet to avoid any anti-air systems the terrorists have when conducting strikes over contested airspace, such as in Syria. One of the bone's greatest advantages is its large engines in the back, which set it apart from bombers like the B-2. The rear end of this aircraft is thicker than a bowl of oatmeal, thanks to the Ford General Electric after burning turbofan engines with a max output of 3,680 lb of thrust in full afterburner. The bone can reach mind-boggling speeds of 1.2 Mach, not too shabby for something that weighs up to 477. Had numeral designations, like a protractor, in one of the rare instances where something you learned in K through 2 that actually applies in real life. The pilot can adjust this level to change the angle of attack on the wings looking outside you. You can see that when the pilot does this, the wings can go from full forward to tight. In a full forward configuration, the bone's wings are actually almost perpendicular to the aircraft at about a 15-degree angle. However, by moving this lever, the pilot can bring the wings tight into the airplane's body at full sweep at an angle of 67.5°, though not a new concept in itself due to its use in several fighter aircraft, like the F-14 Tomcat. This is a revolutionary feature for bombers having variable, swept wings allows the bone to have the stability it needs for low-speed flight while quickly transitioning into delta wing design to allow it to maintain formation with fighter aircraft. This element is essential since as the formation of B-1s and their fighter escorts get closer to the target areas, the bone doesn't want to get left in the dust and be vulnerable to Syrian fighter aircraft. But if you thought that this was not enough to move a chunky boy like this, then you would be right. However, the aircraft designers were already one step ahead since they designed the plane with horizontal stabilizers that can also be moved independently. Looking at the back of the aircraft, you can see these two stabilizers on the tail. Because they can move independently, the pilots can use them for emergent or evasive maneuvers like a tight bank to avoid an enemy missile and even a barrel roll. But that's not even all it can do thanks to something called a sniper pod. The bone can actually function as a close support aircraft. If you look closely, there's something resembling a security camera sticking out of one of the hard points on the right side of the fuselage.